Susan, can you tell us a little bit about your role at UTS?
Sure. My role is I head up data and analytics, but also since COVID, I've had a real place in developing new ways of working and responsible for moving people initially off-site to work from home.
The news we get is probably the most disrupted industry, apart from probably tourism, has been the education sector, the loss of overseas students, the whole new delivery models. Could you give us a feel for how that's impacted you?
Yeah, sure. We've had to look for other opportunities for revenue, which has been a good opportunity too, because I think there's also a real need for education in areas such as digital and data, and the enterprises are starting to really look at that. So the corporates are looking at that more than they have in some time. So I think that's a great opportunity for us as a new business models.
It infects a lot of ways that people work, and I can imagine the university people who would see their value proposition through, being a lecturer in a theatre, talking to people, have got to reimagine what they're doing and how they're doing. What has been your findings in that customer experience or that employee experience area?
So I think certainly, first of all, customer experience, we've seen students really wanting more choice now. I think we saw students who really did want to access some content online, but there's a real mix and there's a real balance to be had. I think there's still a real need for people to be on the campus and interact on campus.
So there's that human experience that you need to cater for.
Absolutely. We're seeing people now coming back to campus, and I think for employees, I think your culture can go for so long, and we kind of ran off the culture we had. But after a while, you do need to get people back, and they need to work together. And I think that gives a renewed energy that we've seen in the last few months.
Because I can see on one hand the advantages of a customer experience in the sense of a student can have their lecture at a time that's convenient to them. They can build their working life around access to these lectures. But I can also see you've got to marry that with the fact, and there's operational efficiency drivers that Adapt is seeing that's on top of a lot of people's agendas. And I'm sure people look at the cost of real estate in Sydney and say, if we can shrink that a little bit, there's a lot of savings that can be done. But you're sort of also seeing people who want that human experience, and you're trying to have to marry both of those.
Yeah, absolutely. We're wanting to look at our space very carefully, and obviously space is a huge cost. But on the other side, we're also looking at new ways of working. So we've got a great opportunity where we can both save money on our space and adapt to new ways of working by moving more towards activity-based working and making sure that we're making the most of the spaces we have.
Can you tell us a little bit more about these new ways of working that you've seen arise over the last 12 months?
Yeah, sure. I think we're seeing definitely a lot more transdisciplinary teams, so people coming together for a certain purpose. And when COVID first hit, we saw that more than ever. Different groups in HR, facilities and IT, for instance, really had to come together quickly to enable people to work from home, to enable our students to log on remotely as well. So I think working in those different teams and having requires a different type of leadership too. And I think people are popping up all over the university who are being leaders in different teams without official jobs, which has been really great.
That obviously implies a bit of somewhat, I'm going to say anarchy, that's probably too dangerous a word, but it's a sense of you're breaking down some of the formal structures in an organisation. You're getting greater collaboration because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a crisis can do that, right? Everyone came together for the same purposes, and everyone kind of forgot where their traditional units were. So I think technology in that initial time actually helped that too. I think suddenly you could get on a Zoom call with people from all the faculties, and rather than we probably were a bit reluctant to walk 10 minutes away, but suddenly we're all talking regularly. So I think actually that's where technology really
It
helped.
almost
during
broke
that
down
time.
barriers.
Yeah,
I
it
think-
did absolutely break down
Now,
barriers.
you told us in the opening that part of your role is in data,
Yeah.
the harnessing of data. How have you been leveraging data in response to COVID and evolving the future ways of working?
I guess some of the real areas we've been looking at new business models and how we can, really target those. But also from the student perspective, how we can use AI to help them decide what courses they should do. So they know what career they want to be doing in 5 years' time. These are the sort of courses they should do on their way. And I think that's a great example of using AI to really help.
Well, I can imagine, because a lot of people could be blinded by the potential of jobs they could do, and what you're helping is giving greater clarity to their thinking about what they might be good at and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, one of the challenges is the leadership of organisations on this journey. We're obviously moving into an increasingly digital world.
Yeah.
How do you educate your leadership about the potential and possibilities of what the future of education and universities could be?
So what we've done is created a domain model. So we've brought in senior leaders and senior groups in domain boards, and within that, they really determine the priorities within our IT area. And part of that will be about enabling and training and teaching them what's available, so they can really make informed decisions around IT expenditure.
How do you find you train those people? The leaders there can be big egos there. How do you give somebody a thought and an idea without telling them how to do their job?
It's just showing them what's possible, bringing them on the journey without being so straightforward as to say that this is what you should do. If they make that decision and they're part of that decision making, I think that doesn't harm their egos.
So what you're saying, you're building relations, it's conversations, it's an iterative process, it's not a black and white answer.
It's definitely an iterative process.